In Belize Central Prison, there is a man waiting to be executed. He lives in a jail full of rapists, gang members, murderers, and the criminally insane. But due to a strange quirk of history, his only hope to get off death row is a group of lawyers 5,000 miles away in London who are fighting to save his life. The British legal system is one of the oldest in the world. Back in the days of the British Empire, we exported our laws around the globe. But when Britain ended the death penalty, many former colonies didn't. Now in London, a group of lawyers called the Death Penalty Project specialise in fighting this legacy, taking on cases of the death row prisoners around the world. Belize is an impoverished former colony in Central America that used to be known as British Honduras. Thanks to its British past, Belize still has the death penalty. Joe Middleton is one of the Death Penalty Project's top barristers. He has a special interest in Belize.
When I went out to Belize a couple of years ago, I conducted an audit of the prison on some key human rights issues, on mental health, on juveniles, long-term prisoners.
Joe's visit also brought him into contact with one desperate man who still lives on death row in Belize. His crime? Murder. On the 7th of November 2001, Glenford and his two accomplices were tried for murder at the Supreme Court. At that time, anyone convicted of murder by gunfire faced an automatic death penalty. All three men were found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. The man who pulled the trigger immediately appealed his sentence.
When he went on the appeal, the sentence of death squashed against him due to lack of identification.
He gets off on a technicality. The man who actually shot Azrin was now free. Glenford appealed, hoping for the same outcome.
That gave me enough hope that once the trigger person can be free, an accomplice person must can be free.
But Glenford Baptist was not so lucky. He was sent to be executed at one of the most violent prisons in all of the Americas. Now 14 years later, Glenford Baptist is still on death row awaiting execution.
I'm the longest person on death row in Belize City. This is hell. This ain't no heaven and no better roads. No. It's rough.
Glenford's friend and accomplice Hootie had been causing trouble for some time.
He don't give a damn about anyone. He want no one to tell him what to do. He want to do his own thing. And he end up choke a guy in the Mac section. And gradually things get dirty and someone else came and killed him on the longer run. That's his life. He chose that. He don't choose life. He choose death. He could have been right here with me. Right here on this interview with me. But that's the road he chose. A bully life. A fast life. It's like he's riding a racehorse and don't know when to stop.
With Hootie gone, Glenford was the only man left on death row in Belize.
Yeah, I'm the last person on death row. I'm the longest person on death row in Belize City. You know? Have to face any consequence that come my way.
Back in London, there's good news. The Death Penalty Project have secured an appeal date. It's in just 5 days' time.
A lot of people have invested a lot of time in this work, but we think that we have very, very strong arguments that are going to be very difficult for the state to oppose, both in relation to delay on death row. He has been there for that period of time. That is not in dispute. He was sentenced to a mandatory death penalty. That is not in dispute either. So it's a question of raising these issues before the judge and hopefully the judge giving us a fair hearing and making the right decision.
The news soon reaches Belize Central Prison.
It's crazy. But it's good news, because there's hope there. So I don't really know what will be the outcome when we go back to court. By the grace of God, that is what I am searching for, me and my attorney, for a fixed term sentence from the judicial system, you know.
The worst conceivable outcome would be for the death sentence to be reimposed. The best outcome for Glenford would be that he would be released having spent some 14 years on death row already.
Be such a relief from the burden that is on my shoulder. It will make me really appreciate life. Once there's life, there's hope.
And over his 14 years inside, the prison has changed too. In 2002, violence within Belize City Prison was so bad that the Minister of Prisons asked local businessman John Wood and the charity he ran to take over.
There was killings. There were 50 escapes per annum. There were 900 prisoners. There were only 300 beds. I mean, it was just totally out of control. So what summed it up is you'd walk on the flights and you'd look in the cells, and the people looking back at you looked at you with dead eyes, like, go ahead, kill me then. What else can you do to me? It was just hopelessness in their voices.
More importantly for Glenford, John Wood was against the death penalty. But Glenford was still far from safe. At any moment, the Department of Justice could send in their own executioner.
One of our conditions when we took over as that non-profit managed prison was that we would not kill anybody on behalf of the state. They would have to have somebody else to do it.
If that day comes, these will be the last steps Glenford will ever climb.
This is the spot. They put the rope around his neck, and then they pull that handle to the back, and the door opens up, and he has weights around his feet, and it pulls over, and it's over just like that. It looks like it's about a 12-foot drop there. So once they open that door, that's it.
These gallows will stay on site as long as Glenford is on death row, and his case remains undecided.
When somebody loses a loved one, the first thing they say is, they should be hanging these people, hang them high. And they keep with that attitude until they get somebody that they love that's in prison in the same situation. All of a sudden there's a quick reverse.
Since 2002, when John Wood's Colby Foundation took over the prison, life has changed for Glenford.
Since Colby took over, it's kind of rearranged. All the violence ceased. They bring in education, more spiritual program. So the energy have been changed. People start showing concern. First, no one was showing concern.
He is escorted to the prison bus to take him to the Supreme Court. It's the first time he has left the prison for many years. Glenford's barrister, Priscilla Banner, has been working closely with the Death Penalty Project in London to prepare his appeal.
Essentially, Mr. Baptist is saying that I have been subjected to inhuman and degrading treatment and/or punishment. It has been over 13 years and 8 months that he has been on death row. And so we're going to press the court and ask that the death sentence be quashed today and that a resentencing hearing be set for some time in the future.
Glenford walks into court to hear his fate. This court hearing is important not just for Glenford, but for the future of the death penalty in Belize itself. At 10:40, the appeal court delivers its verdict. It's good news.
Due to the death penalty have been squashed off for me, they tell me that maybe I'll have a future with my family again. It's a joy, it's a joy. I love it, I love it. My joy really come back to me now.
No, since this burden have removed off my shoulder. It was a heavy load on my shoulder. The cross had been removed. A brand new chapter is looking to start in my life now.
Every time a good decision comes out of a case like this, it's helpful as a precedent, because then when you're dealing with other cases with similarities in other countries, you can say, this is the correct approach to take. Look at what happened in Belize with Glenford's case. Look at the reasoning that the Chief Justice gave in that case. That can also be applied in other countries too.
Glenford Baptist may have beaten death row, but his fight continues. He now awaits resentencing. That could ultimately mean freedom, or it could mean he will never leave Belize Central Prison.